Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Harmonious World. If this is your first time listening to an episode, welcome, and I hope that you enjoy hearing a musician talking about what makes them great and how they are helping make the world a little more harmonious. Don't forget to click follow wherever you're listening to this so that you can always be notified about up and coming episodes. I try and do one a week. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 10 days between episodes. My guest this week is Matt Booth. His album Sun Prince is out now, and that's Prince, Prints, not Prince. It's a great album, and it includes past guest of the show Oscar Rossignoli on piano keyboards. What you're listening to now is You Came Along. And I'm looking forward to chatting with Matt, so I hope you enjoy listening in. Welcome to Harmonious World. It's great to welcome you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me. It's a great honor to talk to you because I love this album. It's really good. Sun Prince.
Oh, thank you.
Is there deliberately a play on words, as in Prince, not Prince?
No, not deliberately. It
Okay.
actually has to do with the cover art. The cover art
Oh,
was
wow.
design like the name of the process that the cover art was designed through was called a sun print. Um,
Oh,
yeah, so the fellow that did the album design, like he did that and sent me some ideas before I had an album title. And I
oh,
just thought that that name or that phrase was intriguing. But in general, I do like deliberate wordplay. So maybe there's probably part, subliminally in there
right.
that may have occurred to me, but that wasn't the sort of driving force of choosing that.
No, but it is a beautiful, beautiful cover, isn't it?
I
Lovely.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me about this album. When was it recorded?
It was recorded in the beginning of 2023.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think February of 2023, February, January, in right outside of Lafayette, Louisiana, in a studio called Dockside Studios, which is just a really gorgeous place, great studio, great staff. So, yeah,
Right.
I have nothing but good things to say about that studio.
Well, and the quality is amazing, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
So, yeah, fantastic. And are these guys that you've played with regularly before?
Yes, in lots of different scenarios. The pianist Oscar Rossignoli is a member of the extended trio that I think we talked with you a few years ago on our
Exactly.
last
Yeah.
release.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Oscar and I have played a lot in that group. And then the other three musicians I've played with in lots of other scenarios and with other band leaders, but hadn't worked with them super closely on an original project.
Right. Okay. And that was my next question. Are these all originals, or and they were all written by you or by other
Yeah,
people?
yeah, all of the songs are written by me on this album.
Okay. And so what was your inspiration for them?
Hmm. Um, a lot of them were written in the initial months of the COVID-19 shutdown, which that certainly isn't an inspiration per se, but
No.
the free time, the time that I had, you could say was an inspiration. So I definitely spent more time composing in those initial months than ever before in my life. Um, so just having that free time to spend writing was an inspiration. And then I kind of, once I get into a role and a rhythm of things, writing, it sort of feels easy. Um,
Right.
which you could say the same for anything. If you started practicing, football 8 hours a day, by the second week, it would start to feel really natural. So
Yeah.
it's just like any sort of muscle that you are focusing on. So I feel like when I get in a good rhythm writing, it just starts to get easier and more fruitful. And I wish I, could spend that amount of time writing all of the time, but that was obviously a very unique scenario in
Right.
our lives. So that was sort of like a secondhand inspiration, I would say. Um, but there wasn't like the album at large doesn't have uh like an overarching inspiration. Some of the songs had certain composers that I was inspired by, that I was like, well, what if I tried to write a song that sounded like this person's songs, and it's sort of my version of that interpretation. Or other little like tools or devices, um, on like a song by song basis. But
Right.
overall, aside from the free time that I had, there wasn't any sort of guiding inspiration behind them.
Right. It's interesting, isn't it? Because um, at the time, during the lockdown of 2020, 2021 into 22,
Hmm.
it almost felt wrong to say, I'm being very creative. This is allowing me time to, concentrate on other things. That almost felt wrong in a way that it doesn't now, in a way that now it feels okay to say, actually, there was an upside to it, even though there was awful
Sure.
stuff going on.
Of course, yeah, and I think another thing for me with this batch of songs, a lot of this was written in like the first few months, like March, April, May, when it was still early on in the shutdown, and we didn't quite know how long it was going to go on. Initially it was like, oh, maybe there'll be like 2 months where I don't
Yeah.
have anything to do, and it felt inspiring initially. And then as it dragged on and it became apparent that it was going to last a long time, it like was way less uh,
Yeah.
inspirational and more like, what the heck am I going to do with my life? So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say that the writing that I got out of it, and these songs that were composed in that time, were in those initial months where it certainly wasn't a positive time by any stretch of the imagination. But I think for a lot of the musicians in my community, we're also used to working all the time and running around to play gigs, and all of a sudden there being a stop to everything. It was like, oh wow, I can, learn about this music, or focus on writing, or focus on practicing, or just all this, everything coming to such a halt allowed time to sit and focus, until there was this sort of like dread of like, oh wow, am I ever going to be able to perform again? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. It was a very strange time in our lives, wasn't it?
for sure.
Yeah. Um, can you talk to me about Time to Spare? Because I really like that track. Tell me where that came
Hmm.
from.
Um, that's an example of one that was definitely influenced by someone in particular. Um, the composer Henry Threadgill. There was an album of his that I was listening to a lot, and this song, came out of like, I want to try to write a song like what I'm hearing on this. And yeah, it's like one long introductory section that's the saxophone has this melody, and it's really like a long lead up until the drum groove changes, and it's sort of like I don't know, it's sort of like a real jovial party atmosphere. It's almost like yeah, it's almost like a carnival feeling once the next part of the song starts. Um, and
Yeah.
then there's like a drum solo at the end of that section, and then that brings back the initial material. So it's really like the form of the song is like A B A. There's like the B section that takes up most of the song. The middle of the song is that sort of like carnival-esque feel. So
Yeah.
it was
So
also nice to write a song that was really happy sounding, because not a lot of, I guess thinking about it in this way, not a lot of songs that I write are so overtly happy and jovial. And it was nice to sort of just like write something in that feel.
right. Yeah. Yeah, it is. There's there is something uplifting about it, which I really
Yeah,
liked. So so I'm going to play a little portion of that just so that
sure.
people can hear it. Because one of the things that I really like about doing this podcast is I get to hear a lot of music. I get to listen to a lot of albums. And
Hmm.
sometimes I'm going to people, oh, you really need to listen to this. And I can only pick out one or two things for them to listen to, but I want everybody to go away and listen to the whole thing.
Sure.
So yeah. Yeah. So have you been touring with this album and these guys?
No, no. It's a one, it's hard to tour with a quintet. It's just hard to make the finances work out in a
Yeah.
way that everyone's happy and making money. And two, this group of musicians, everyone is really busy in their own right as working professional musicians,
Sure.
and which again makes it even harder to sort of line stuff up schedule wise. Um, and yeah, I've just had some other stuff happen in my life in the last year that's just made everything busy, even more so.
Right.
So yeah, it was just a hard thing to do. We do have an album release show next month in October in New Orleans with the band that recorded it. So that's something I'm looking forward to. But no touring.
No, absolutely. Well, I will make sure that I put a link to your website so that people, if they're near New Orleans,
Sure.
can go along. So that's great. I know so many musicians now who live in New Orleans. It's
Oh, is
amazing.
that right?
Yeah. If you check back on the list of my podcast, you'll go, "Oh yeah, I know them. Oh yeah, I know them." It's great.
Yeah, it's a
So,
great music scene there.
oh yeah, really is. So it's brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's been really, really good to talk to you again.
Yeah, good to see you again. Thank you.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed listening to that conversation with Matt Booth. So his album Sun Prince is out now on Eyes and Ears Records, and I'll put the links in the show notes. What you're listening to now is In Tongues, which is the opening track on Sun Prince. Do please hit follow and share this with other people. Rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. It really does help other people to find me. Thank you for joining me once more for Harmonious World. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook, and it's a great delight to bring this series of discussions with musicians and composers and writers and all sorts of people to you. Obviously, there's no point in having a podcast if people aren't listening, and I'm very grateful to my listeners for doing so. Thanks also to Joe English for composing and performing this new theme tune. So wherever you get your podcast, you can leave a review. You can share this with your friends and family, either as a link or on social media and that sort of thing. I'd be really grateful for that. Don't forget that you can subscribe now. There's a link wherever you get your podcasts. So have a great week, and please remember why I started this, which is just to try and make the world a little more harmonious. Thanks for listening to Harmonious World.